Good. Hey, how's it going, you guys? Let's get this out the way. Yo. Hey, how's it going? Hey, how's it going? This is part 2 of the Morpho how to draw simplified forms workthrough thing that I'm doing. We're just going to jump in. We're starting at page 15 is where we last left off. So let's jump in. All right, so we're talking about the lower limb here. I'm just going to read it real quick just so we can have that there and then we can draw. Lower limb. Measured from the hip joint to the ground, the leg can be divided at the knee joint into two equal parts. At the center of the small sides of the box representing the pelvis, we place the hip joints, figure 1. So that's figure 1. With the femurs being subcutaneous here, I don't know what that means. Shaded area, figure 2. Okay. However, on many models, the fat in that area obscures the femur's presence. Regardless, the flexural fold always indicates their positions. Figure 3, right there. The cylinder of the thigh can take a conical form, narrowing above the knee. We will most often draw a diagonal line across this segment, corresponding to the passage of the sartorius muscle, which descends from the upper angle of the pelvis to connect with the inside of the knee, figure 4. Figure 4. This line makes it possible to separate the two principal masses of a thigh as seen from the front, the quadriceps, and the abductors. So quads, abs. This is your sartorius, I guess. I don't know. This big thing. I usually see thighs kind of drawn like this. Right, where you'll have like, it'll be like this. I feel like it's like kind of how I've seen most superhero thighs drawn, but there's so many different ways, you know. I feel like I see it drawn differently so many times. So let's get into it. We'll start to draw basically everything that we see on this page. So I'm going to start with the simplest thing first, figure 1, which is this nice little box that represents the pelvis. And I'm going to make mine a little bit wider than I normally do because that is my problem. I feel like I'm not making anatomy forms wide enough and tall enough. It's a very weird habit that I've had for years, and I'm trying to break it. The reason why we're making this X, if you're pretty new to drawing, this is basically how you find the middle of any shape that you do. So then what you can kind of do from that is you can throw in that hip. You know where to place that hip joint. Which is figure 2. Like so. Right, it just helps you be able to put that in the center better. For some odd reason, they shaded this, so I'm just going to shade it too. And then we can kind of come up here and draw in the top of that pelvis. I guess this is what this would be for. Just like that. Let's see if we have some room to draw these legs. Legs are another thing that I struggle with. I feel like I'm always making my legs too short. So let's see if we can kind of break that habit here. I'm gonna have to move this over. Yeah, there you go. I can see. I was like, man, I can't see. Okay. So this actually doesn't look too bad. But there's just this nice like rhythm to a really simplified leg like this. Oh yeah, I wanted to put like a kind of disclaimer here to be like, this isn't, again, right, like when you're kind of studying from books like this, the thing that I've kind of noticed is that you don't just want to do this where you're just studying from this book. You do kind of want to, see, I fucked up. Messed up. So what I'm going to do here is just, because I do want to get everything in here drawn. Like, you do want to go through these how to draw books, and you do want to draw everything that you see, but you do still need to be like, okay, and I think we'll do this a little bit more once we get into each section of this book, is we'll do the drawings, and then the best thing to kind of do after that is to, you got to kind of apply that to real stuff. So what is 1? 1 is the correct corresponding to the passage of the sartorius muscle. So let's just write it in. So sartorius. Alright, so let's try this again. We're gonna do this guy now. Just a little bit more pronounced here. But yeah, like, when we get to like the leg section, right? Like, you don't want to just study basically like from this book. Like, you kind of then have to go and basically apply what you're doing and what you're learning to an actual drawing. That's kind of like the best way to really get knowledge from these books. You don't want to just be drawing kind of blindly from these books. Just because you're not really gonna like learn anything from doing that other than just to be copying this book. So this is an abductor, and then these are your quads. So the reason why they call this a quad, by the way, is because it'll be separated into 4 quadrants. So this is already 1, and then this whole area here, like I kind of drew before, you'll oftentimes see this kind of split up into something kind of like this, right? You'll see that a lot, and I'm sure they're going to show us that later on. And we still cannot get this foot totally in here. And we got it mostly in there. Cool. Alright, we're out of room now, so let's start a new page. Let's get these last three drawings in here. Again, when we're kind of drawing something pretty tall like this, don't just start at the top of the page and then work your way down. Try to, hell, if you can even put, a box, right? This is where that drawing's going to go. This just helps you so that you can fit all the information that you're trying to kind of learn here. You know what I mean? It's kind of like figure drawing. Go. Again, you know, start with that, just super duper simple. And we got a box here. And again, man, you know, just keep it really light. Someone's calling me. Hello?
Hi, can I speak to Derick Jones?
This is him.
Calling from Dr. Patrick.
Sorry about that. That was my doctor calling me. Anyway, that's definitely gonna stay in. Alright, so like these little curves here. Yeah. Just gotta make sure you're getting all this information here. Again, right, like you don't have to nail your drawing exactly like what you're seeing in this, right? I mean, you know, try to maybe get close if it's really going to help you kind of remember like what this stuff looks like and everything like that. But I don't think that's the point. You know, the point is just getting the information down. Let's see, I actually made these legs a little too wide, a little too long. Right? Like just try to kind of... Nice. Alright, so before I do this foot, I'm going to jump back over here real quick to try to nail this. See if I can nail this leg. But yeah, it's just more so just like information. Like you're just trying to kind of nail the info that's happening here. But it doesn't hurt, you know, to try to nail it, but just don't let that become time consuming, right? Like you're just kind of trying to get the information that you can then apply to your own drawings. And again, you know, we're going to do that more. But you know, like I said, don't just grab a how to draw book and then just think that all you kind of need to do is just be drawing from that. You have to just remember you have to go and apply what you're learning. It sucks. It sucks that you can't just kind of draw from these books and then just be like, got it. Got all the information I need. You know, I never need to study ever again. But that's just not how it works, unfortunately. Okay, we'll do this little guy. God, it'd be so much simpler, but it's just not. Sorry, I also just got back from my run, and boy, are my legs tired. But you know, even just copying these drawings, like I'll show you guys something that I did yesterday at the end of this. Like, it's good to have, always try to have a drawing going, especially when you're doing study sessions. And we'll do just like maybe just to save time. We'll just do the shading that we see here.
I think that's sort of the most childlike then there's other kinds of things you can do to a signal story. Then I got into the Wawa festival. Here's how the Wawa sounds on the clarinet.
See, there's all these like bumps.
This is not representative, it's just one of a trillion sounds you get.
But I'm kind of from the school of straights versus curves, right? But I do want to add just a little bit more, what's the word I'm looking for? A little bit more dynamism to my straights versus curves. You know what I mean? I don't want to just do, you know, this, you know, straight, and then this side is like the interesting side. Like, you know, you can get a little bit more dynamic with it. Alright, cool. Alright. Page 16. The buttocks, made up of fat, if you got one, can be confused with the gluteal muscles. Number 4. The buttocks are drawn as a contour that curves the hip joint on the side and at the back. The gluteus slides in between the quadriceps and the hamstrings. The knee requires its own shape, as it is a joint area where the bones are dominant. We will most often represent the knee as a simple cubical form in order to reinforce, as with the elbow, the hard, angular presence of the skeleton. Then we will sometimes refine its shape by positioning the patella from the... Then we will sometimes refine its shape by positioning the patella. From the knee to the ankle, the leg is drawn as an elongated cone. Here we again find characteristics similar to the forearm. Fleshy and muscular forms above with more tendinous and bony forms close to the ankle. We are not always able to resist curving the shape of the leg somewhat in order to make it more attractive. In a profile view of a person in a standing position, the thigh and lower leg segments are not perfectly aligned one on top of the other. The thigh is slightly prominent and pushes the knee to align with the midfoot and the front of the ankle joint. This is due to the unequal distribution of the muscular masses on the thigh and on the lower leg. The femur is, in fact, entirely covered by the musculature of the thigh, particularly the powerful quadriceps in front, whereas the gastrocnemius muscles of the calf is further back, and the anterior tibialis muscles extensors push the tibia to brush just under the skin in the front. The foot is made up of three principal parts: the heel, the midfoot domed on top and arched on the bottom, and the toes. As with the thumb, the big toe has only two phalanges, unlike the other toes that each have three, though the two last phalanges of the little toe are so small they seem to form just one. Like the hand, the bones of the foot dominate the shapes on the top, while a layer of fat cushions the sole. Alright. Let's get it in. I might be able to fit this right here. Nah, let's just do it over here. So, like I said, man, you know, it's just a good refresher. I feel like I just need to just refresh. I just need to refresh. So I'm glad I'm doing this. You know, I feel like you're never too good to get a practice session in. And the cool thing about the internet is that you can kind of do this with other people, or you know, you can make videos like this and then other people can kind of draw along with you. I would have loved to do this live, but just kind of setting up a live and then, you know, just like the pressure of like, oh no, what if no one shows up? Like, I just really didn't want that to kind of dominate my thinking behind this, because I'm like, I'm not trying to become an influencer. You know, like, I'm not trying to become an influencer, and I'm not really, I mean, I teach, but I'm not like really even trying to become like a full-time teacher or anything like that. So I'm kind of like, all right, like, the point of this is just to like study, you know? The point of this at the end of the day is to study and to spread some knowledge. And I guess in a way that this could be a live review of this book. Right? Okay, so we got 4. Let's see what 4 was. Glutes. Five is your hamstrings. What's 2 though? I don't know. Okay. Well, 6 is your calf muscle, I know that. And then 7 is your extensor. So it's kind of like you basically are, you know, everything kind of repeats itself in the body, which is kind of neat. It's kind of like perspective, where it's just like a lot of things in drawing are just like repeated forms. All right, so let's just get this. Let's get this gesture in here. Believe me, there's a part of me that's like tempted to be like, I don't need to really draw this. But this is also technically like my warm up, so it's like I do need to go ahead and just do it, just knock it out. It's good practice. Right. But yeah, you know, just like I said, you know, just start super light, keep it construction. And then I guess once we're done with this book, I guess I can do a walkthroughs of how I study other artists. I always did that, like kind of like in private, because I was just like, oh, I don't know if I'm supposed to be like doing this. Like, I don't know if it's okay to be, you know, sketching out compositions from like my favorite artists. And then I remember, I think it was Eric Canetti. I think it was Eric Canetti that talked about it, or he was just like, I suck at drawing women, so when I'm feeling that, I just go and I study Claire, I forget her name, Claire something. I almost said Claire Danes. But she's a really good fantasy artist who just draws like women. And he's just like, I just study her. I just try to just match my drawings to look like hers as best as I can. And so once I heard that, I was just like, cool. I didn't know that everybody else did that too. I thought we just all did that secretly. And then just never told anyone. So, don't be afraid to study your favorite artists. Ain't nothing wrong with it. Just don't post master studies. I think that's the big thing that people mess up with, is like they'll do a master's study of someone's work and then be so proud that, you know, they kind of nailed it, that they'll then like post that. It's just kind of like, nah, don't do that. That's bad form. Or worse, I mean, I have kids that I sometimes teach, and they'll do shit like that, where they'll be like, I'll know that they did it, you know, because I'm like, well, the composition on this is like really good, and you're not good at composition. And they'll be like, oh yeah, you know, I looked at such and such a stuff, and I was like, is this a study of that person's artwork? And they're like, well, yeah, kind of. And I'm like, okay, well, why'd you sign it? Like, you know, it's like, I'm not trying to rain on your parade, dude, but it's not cool. You're technically stealing people's art. Okay, so let's get some feet. Come on, feet. Do these guys. see if that looks. That doesn't look quite like it. So let me take a little bit of my own advice. There we go. That's better. So, foot construction. We'll do a tighter one. Now we're kind of breaking the rule a little bit of not doing the construction first. But it's such a easy pattern. Like those toes. It's like once you kind of just knock those toes in there, it's kind of an easy pattern to kind of just keep going. Like I feel like you don't really need to do the construction on them. All right, let's get this foot. Okay. You know who's a guy I really want to study more is I have this awesome Alex Toth book about like all his animation work, and I do think it's awesome, but I don't know, it's like kind of hard to study. It's almost like it's like too simple and like too retro. It's very, yeah, I don't know. But I love his stuff. But yeah, there's just a part of me that's just like, this is like kind of too simple. So here, anytime I have to fit, I have to fit 4 things here, I personally just like to figure out that spacing early. This guy's gonna have like LeBron toes. Right. Right. Let's just get this shading in here. I would never shade like this, but it's just kind of good thing to just kind of practice contour shading. Because even if you don't shade like that, it's still good to know that like you're basically, you know, you're understanding the contours. Cool. All right. Now we're getting into the head and neck. All right. Let's go ahead and just sketch this guy in real quick. We can do it right here, I feel like. Probably a good place. It's a pretty big drawing, so we'll just do it. Let's see where I'm at without having to do any of the construction that they're going to teach us. Let's see where we're at. Okay. Then we've also got this. Okay. It's good to know where this kind of middle of the face is. Okay. So this shadow line here. There we go. Again, too, like, there's other ways to study. You know, study. If you find studying from a book to be just absolutely boring, don't do it. You know, you just got to figure out a way to learn this stuff in a different way. Let's see. Yeah, mine's way off. But that's what we're here for. Alright, so here we go. The eyes can be drawn halfway up the head. The space between the eyes is about the same as the width of an eye. The ears are at the same level as the nose. The base of the nose coincides with the depressions underneath the cheekbones. The height of the nose can be equal to the measurement from the bottom of the nose to the chin. Wow. Alright, so let's get some of those in. I guess we'll just start with this page. Running out of room here, but it's okay. This here. And again, right, like, try to, even if you know some of this stuff, right, like, because I know some of this stuff. I know some of this stuff. I'm not going to sit up here and be like, I know all this stuff. I don't need to be doing this, but I like to try to attack it from a place of, like, humility. You know, it's like, yeah, I've done enough how to draw books to know that, you know, the eyes are, you know, an eyeball apart and everything, but I still make the mistake sometimes, you know. I definitely still make that mistake of not doing enough of a gap. And I mean, I draw very I you know, if you're familiar with how I draw very cartoony. So that's the other thing too, you know. When you're doing these studies, right? Like, try to study from stuff that ultimately you're going to be able to use, right? Like, if you're not trying to be, like, I had to learn that lesson very hard way. Like I had to learn that lesson the hard way. It's like I would study like just bone structures and things like that, and it just never really stuck because I was like, well, I'm really trying to just draw simple drawings. So once I kind of started studying cartoons and things that like I actually wanted to draw, like that really helped make studying fun. And that's the main reason why I grabbed this book, because it teaches simplified anatomy. It's not doing, what some of these anatomy books do, which is basically like, it's like a book for a doctor, where you're just like, I don't need to know vein names. You know what I mean? Like I guess, man, if that really helps you remember stuff. But then again, it's something that you kind of need to like know about yourself. But if you're like me, man, like I'm really just trying to get in and kind of get out with drawing. I just want something to look cool. I want something to be clear. Even above clear, or even above, excuse me, sorry, even above things looking cool, I just want things to look clear. I just want someone to be able to look at my artwork and be like, okay, yeah, that guy knows how to draw. He knows how to simplify. And he did it. I don't need someone to be like, that's technically correct, and, he drew the osmiscus bone correctly, and, So we're going to do this little guy. We got about 12 minutes left. But that's the main reason why I got this book. And I know, like, this book kind of basically typically looks a little bit like most how to draw books that are kind of stale, and you're like, oh boy, here we go. I gotta, like, those is it Burn Hogarth books? Man, I really, I remember just trying so hard to get through those books. I just could not stand that guy's art. I was like, man, I don't know if there's anything to learn. And also, they're written really, like, they're just written. Those books need to just be updated, honestly, because there's a lot of good information in them. Like, I read his Dynamic Folds book. Okay, so for this eye thing, where it's like, eyes are basically an eyeball apart, and then there should be like enough space over here for another eye. I basically kind of like once I find that middle line, I kind of will just make 2 points. This represents the space between the eyes, and then 2 more points outside of that represents where the eyes are actually going to go. See? Let's see. This represents the nose line. But then we still need enough. So I might have made this line a little bit too far down. Let's see. There's like construction going on outside that is perfectly synced up to the beat of this song that I'm listening to. So crazy. So from here to here, where that middle is, that's kind of like where that's kind of like typically where I put the lip. right? Let's see what that gets us. Nice. Okay. Now let's do this stuff over here. Man, I tell you, the getting the skull right is so hard, because when I was learning drawing, I learned from this like how to draw manga book, and I swear, man, I think that book taught me more wrong things than it did good, because I never leave enough space up here for the head, for like the forehead. I just never do. And I suspect it's from that book. I suspect it's from learning how to draw. And I think that's why a lot of teachers used to, when I was growing up, they used to be like, do not copy manga. Do not copy. See, now I drew it too big. But at least I have room up here. You know, I usually typically just draw it way too short. So what I think I'm going to try to do now is just draw. See, this is where it gets like kind of complicated when you have to draw this head, because all of this. So let's see, the eyes can be drawn halfway up the head, right? This is another thing I do too, is I feel like I'm always making my heads too skinny down here. Okay, so that looks pretty good. So let's go ahead and draw that. This basically represents your hairline. Hair. And but then you see, right, like, that's so weird. This is where the nose needs to be, because it lines up with the bottom of the cheekbones. Then if we come up here, so I think this is really like so I guess this would be the halfway of this whole thing. Cool. Oh man. All right, got about 5 minutes left. Let's see if we can get another one of these. Let's get this guy in here. I guess another tip could be like, you really are like kind of adverse to drawing from a drawing book, you could always go the route of, you know, online tutorials. But beware, those can get you where those basically, that trap is like you just are on YouTube all day. And the other thing too is that can be that was the trap for me, at least, was like I'd watch one video and then I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna let this next one play. And then I'd watch another video, and then pretty soon I'd be like, wait a second. You start looking to the side of you start looking to like the side part of like YouTube, you know, because it has all these other videos there, and you're like, well, wait a second, I do want to find out why Pantera was banned from Japan in 1992, you know, because it'll just show you random ass videos, and then all of a sudden your study sesh just goes completely down the toilet after like a video or two. Also, you know, you're just kind of watching videos. You're not really. So hopefully that doesn't happen to you guys when you're watching this, but just beware. Try to like do this, like draw along with this video as best as you can, and then either shut it off afterwards, and then just try to go draw. But just try not to get trapped into the whole like YouTube rabbit hole that can happen. Because it can happen. It gets the best of us. I am so sorry, you guys, if the energy was a little low today. Worked out like right before this. So alright, and that is our hour. Cool. So we are going to leave it off at page 23. Still got a couple more rounds of the face to get through. But looks pretty cool, man. Looks like it just really just breaks down every part of that face and the head that we're going to have to do. So I'm excited to jump into that. We'll hit it tomorrow. All right. See you guys later.